of the session was saying that this will be a technical deep dive into the implementation, but in practicalities, this won't be that much technical details, as in the end, the kind of main reasonings why we're doing this are a bit more non-technical. But we have a Q&A session to deep dive also in the technical parts at the end, so we can dig into those also if needed in the end. But first, I'll be starting a bit of overall presentation on who is Tieto and what we're doing and why are we taking this path with vCloud Foundation and vCloud Director as our next generation cloud delivery. First, generic disclaimers that, of course, all the sessions have the confidentiality and all that. Then looking at Tieto overall, so we're a Nordic IT company focusing mainly on Finland, Sweden, Norway. A bit about the numbers, how we're doing around business, and out of the revenue and all of that portions, around 1/3 is on our infrastructure and cloud and managed service area. And here is a short kind of description of the different service areas that we have, and we are presenting the hybrid infra portion of the company, which is responsible for all the infrastructure and cloud and managed service deliveries in the area, providing it directly to external customers and also the different business units. So this is now about how the IT market is starting to look from our view with the customers today. That we need to start clarifying the terms, as the hype words multi-cloud and hybrid cloud all have been in the play for a long time, but everybody is a bit confused at what does everything mean in that. So we of course are focusing also a lot on the public cloud deliveries, as we can see here, that our marketing approach to customers, of course, we go cloud first, and then we complement our offering. Then that if we can't go into the kind of hybrid or the multi-cloud offering on public cloud side, if that doesn't complement the offering for various reasons, that there's security or other issues, then we can complement it with the private cloud and making it hybrid delivery then across the public clouds when needed, and then essentially then in the final stage extending the delivery to the edge and delivering the cloud experience to any customer location and premise where they're needed. And the key thinking idea here is for the customers' cloud and service consumption, the consumption experience is the same, whether they're consuming public cloud, private cloud, or edge. They will consume it the same way, and they have the same automation capabilities across the delivery. So we're kind of taking the customer experience that the customers have gotten used to in the public clouds and mirroring that back into all the other deliveries, and coming down from the private cloud to the edge. That is then the area where we are focusing our deliveries with VMware. And here's the overall portfolio that we are currently delivering in the Tieto's hybrid cloud area. The one key lesson that we learned from our previous cloud deliveries, and now we're moving to the new deliveries, that we need to cater to the two different personas. As in the past, in the kind of first generation cloud deliveries, there was just one cloud consumer, which was, in the end, it was the business or the technical person. They were consuming the same cloud, and they didn't have kind of different demands, or they might have had different demands, but there was no really capabilities of delivering the different capabilities to those. So now we have identified clearly that we have two different personas that need to be addressed. That one is the business user, whose main consumption is reporting SLAs and all invoicing information and metrics that how is my business doing, not the technicalities that how's my firewall rules going and how do I change my volume size on a VM. That's not relevant for the business user, as to them it's only key is about the SLA and the metrics that are my business requirements met with the solution that I'm getting. And then the other side is then the cloud native portal and API, which is then the intention there is that we're exposing the native APIs and portals from all the cloud deliveries that we're doing, so that the technical users that are consuming the services can consume the services the way that the services have been designed to be consumed, and they don't need to do any recoding on the potential APIs to consume it, just because it would be a proprietary Tieto type of API. So we're exactly selecting on the kind of bottom level. We're selecting the ecosystems on which we want to participate in and exposing the ecosystem standards to the technical users so that they can use it the efficient way. And the other side on that is that in the modern deliveries, in many cases, it's shifting more into the direction that the actual consumer of the cloud is not a person. That it's moving more towards API consumption through automation and CI/CD pipelines, even if the kind of delivery would be just traditional servers and all of this, which means that especially in those cases that it's standard and all the backend activities are automated becomes a very, very key activity. And out of this portfolio now the area where we're focusing our hybrid delivery with VMware is then the middle box on the bottom, the private hybrid EAs, where we're planning to build a hybrid multi-cloud setup in the end, where VMware Cloud Foundation will be the common part which will be harmonizing the actual capacity delivery across different deployment locations. So depending on the customer use case, whether they have demands for generic capacity which can be deployed in any place, that might be then that the most suitable place and a cost-efficient way to consume it might be on Tieto's private cloud. Or if they're consuming some of the cloud-native services of the hyperscalers, then the deployment location in all likelihood might be in one of the hyperscalers, or if they're in demand for specific office setup or factory capacity, then we can do that with the on-site or edge deployment type. And essentially here, through the Cloud Foundation, the intention is to harmonize that we're delivering the basic infrastructure the same way in all of these deployment locations. And that then creates across the different cloud deployments a hybrid VMware delivery which harmonizes the experience. And intention is to then utilize HCX to do the mobility both across the different deployment types and then, of course, as the kind of onboarding activity for new customer cases to get new workloads in new cases. And then this is just talking about now the basic capacity layer, but then on top of this, the intent is to have, as in the title, vCloud Director to do the overall orchestration and multi-tenancy. Especially multi-tenancy is key in the Tieto's private data center. Of course, edge deployments and these setups are in all scenarios dedicated, so the multi-tenancy is not that key there, but for the common user experience, the same self-service portal is of course important. Then if we look at how the business is kind of transforming in the private cloud today. First, we have the kind of two traditional drivers that have been happening ever since the IT business has been born. The business volumes are going up. They're not in the private cloud. They're not exploding, but there's still a steady organic growth that is going up. Which then on the other side, even that there's steady volume growth, it's a bit hindered by the unit prices and and as the unit prices are decreasing constantly, basically due to market pressure and competition, and of course one of the key competitors or kind of market pressure drivers for the unit prices are the public clouds and the hyperscalers. So that's the kind of traditional things that have been happening for all time, and those are the kind of factors that don't create any kind of immediate demand to change any of our kind of activities. If this would have been the only kind of things that would be happening, then we could have been proceeding in our cloud deliveries exactly the same way as before. As in practice, it's just a practicality also from our side that when the volumes goes up, we can get things done at a cheaper unit price. But then when we come to the items on the right side, which are kind of expectations, which have been now coming from the cloud consumption experiences that the users have been having on public clouds and hyperscalers, where everything happens instantly. So in the past, even if you were delivering a cloud and if your delivery time for an item was hours or day, it was completely okay. You could still get a by with it by explaining that, yeah, we're doing this and this additional security and that and that and that. But nowadays, when the comparable items in the hyperscalers are coming at the delivery time of minutes, then you don't anymore have excuses that you just need to do it. Which is, of course, something that could be also fairly easily overcome with the traditional practices, just adding a bit more automation and the delivery times would be sorted all out. But then we come to the kind of part that makes the traditional model very, very tricky, as the other expectation that is driven basically by the fact that everything, all the features and functionalities in all the services are transforming away from a kind of hardware functions into software functions. So everything is defined in software nowadays. And that is driving exponential growth in the amount of features. And the kind of outcome of exponential growth in features, of course, means that we need more components, we need more integrations, we need more work to actually make the combination package to work. And that is then the kind of killer in this combination that is kind of stopping the traditional way of delivering things. So coming back to that if we kind of start, how do you build the cloud? As mentioned before, the kind of traditional way of building a cloud in the, let's say, close to 10 years ago already, you pretty much focused, you just got the best servers, the best storage, and the best networking. And then you install a bit of software, but that was just a clickety-click and you're done. That was fairly straightforward. In about a year, you probably got your cloud out. Then the next phase, the more features and functionalities and the expectations were a bit growing, so you needed to start focusing on the actual cloud part. And that's when things got a lot more complicated, and in our kind of experience, we end up into around 3 years that you need to actually develop your cloud in order to make it sustainable. Which is coming back to the previous kind of expectations on delivery times, especially on new features. If your cloud delivery and development time is 3 years, it's very, very unsustainable. Then the next stage, when we're getting into the phase that we're exponentially increasing our time on how to deliver the cloud. So if we would have been kind of continuing now on the path that we would have been kind of starting to focus on the full package on the left side, on the kind of technical side, and how to build and continually deliver the new experience, it would have taken, I don't know how many months and how many years, but it would have been mainly meaning that we would have been needed to focus most of our effort in just cloud development. And as we're not intending our future as a company to be a kind of infrastructure developer, then it became kind of clear that we need to kind of shift our thinking model more, that we start planning on how does the target service and the deliverables look like, and start more moving into a consumption model on the cloud deliverables. And then we're getting to a very, very interesting stage where we start with this thinking and moving to the consumption of things like VMware Cloud Foundation and VMware Cloud Provider Pod, that instead of increasing the development time, we actually get into the kind of next evolution stage to a lot faster time. That we're now looking at around 6-month development time for the full cloud delivery stack, including VCF and VCD on top of it. And of course, the kind of practicalities is that in all the activities that is being done, time is money, and in development activities, it's cost. So the less time we spend on this area, the better. So in the end, it is a cost efficiency driver and a quality driver that is driving towards this activity. Okay, and now I'm handing over to Marko to show a bit and tell a bit more about the implementation and the technicalities.
All right, thank you, Onni. So, like Onni said, that the expectations are growing, and the feature sets that customers are requesting is getting higher and higher. Then I start with first of a story, why we were thinking about this, because with the previous cloud that we have a vCloud Director, vRealize login site, vRops, and so on. And basically all of these components, when we were doing like the upgrade round for all of these, it took 1 year and maybe 4 months. And when we were looking at the what was the reason for that, there was no kind of a clear answer that okay, this architecture was built incorrectly, because we did it together with the VMware PSO, so they helped us to build it. We followed all the cloud reference design, CRD documentation, but maybe it was some kind of a configuration drift that made that happen. Now, then we started to think that how can we speed up that kind of upgrade process? We don't have any more time to do the 1 year deployment. And all the time when you do the one upgrade of the or the component of like VCD and you encounter some problem, since we have multiple enterprise customers, we have a standard change management rules and everything. So if you lose the time window to do the actual upgrade, you then need to request the change again. You need to get the approval from the enterprises that it might require, like in our cases, like 6 weeks prior notice for the customer that we are doing a change again. And I'm sure that was the reason why we ended up to like 1 year and 4 months of doing the upgrade cycle. So when we were starting to think about the concept itself, so we have a production network where the customer data is going, and we have that Cisco ACI is our production network where the customer data goes. We have the hardware facilities, power, and the normal data center facilities, and management network with Juniper network. And we started to think together with VMware that what are the options. Of course, we can offer Windows and Linux from the bare metal as such, but we need some automation, and we really need the automation to make the VMware to speed up these upgrade cycles. And VMware Cloud Foundation is definitely one of these. But at the same time, we were discussing with the cloud business unit, and we noticed that, okay, so there's a cloud provider board which is doing basically the same thing. And this was the kind of original concept that we can use the VCF for VMware Integrated OpenStack as a platform for that, or PKS, or we can provide capacity to the VCD as such, or from the cloud provider board. But then when we actually started to implement this new stack, we discussed with the VCF team that it doesn't make sense to have the cloud provider board as doing the most of the same things. And the idea was for us that when we start to build, like Onni said, that we have public clouds, and we have Tieto data center, we have customer locations like edges, and for us, definitely the VMware Cloud Foundation is like a basis or cornerstone for all of the deliveries in the future. We want the consistent operations wherever we have those, and whether it's Finland or Sweden or Norway data center. And then we started to discuss that, hey, we still would like to have, and we really need the pod as such, because pod is doing the lifecycle management for the cloud provider modules, like vCloud Direct or VRO, and so on. And this is like our layered way of approaching this. So we need the VCF as an underground and doing the life cycle for the NSX, vSAN, and so on. But then we need, again, automation for the top layer with pod. And I guess it was yesterday or day before that the validated design has been now announced, how you can run the pod on top of the VCF. And it's just a paper, it's not yet real automation, but we are getting there. And that's the kind of what we are aiming for. Now, in our case, like Onni mentioned, the business users and that they really require a view for the SLA metrics and so on, and we provide those through the ServiceNow. So we need to have the ServiceNow integration, and together with VMware PSO, or actually it's a center of excellence doing the integration from vCloud Director to the ServiceNow. So basically the message of anything that customer is doing as a self-service in vCloud Director, the message goes to the RabbitMQ queue, which VRO is then always listening, and once it picks up something that is happening, the workflow starts to do the upgrade of the CMDB in ServiceNow. And that's what we are now building. So where do we head then next? So we have many countries. We have Finland, Sweden, Norway, but of course we have customer on-site locations, which VMware is calling edge. And so we have multiple data centers, edges, and in the future public clouds. Then you start to build multiple different VCF installations, or you might have a reason to build a VCF just dedicated for one customer. Then of course we need to separate between countries, and in the end you have multiple different VCF setups. And since the automation is the key and the kind of consistent way of operating, we are talking with VMware about this kind of a federated SDDC manager. So how do we manage all of these VCF instances in good way and easy way? Of course, the VMware Cloud and AWS is excluded since it's not managed by Tieto, for example. But then same goes with the vCloud Director. So we have multiple different VCD instances. And from VCF, we can, of course, carve out those provider VDCs to the VCD level. But then in the end, we anyway have multiple VCD instances, and we have the federated VCD available. So that way we have like a 2 layers automated in software manner, and hopefully the kind of a cloud provider board in the future will do the lifecycle management also for both of these stacks. And in the end, what we are then aiming for, it's just that we don't like to focus on upgrading the platform or upgrading the VCD instance. We want to focus on the actual services which are on top of that to our customers. So what else we can offer to customers so that they benefit those. And since we don't use more time to actually do the lower level, we can put time and effort to those add-on services for our customers. Like Onni mentioned, the HCX, we have possibility to move the workloads. Something that I put in there, the AI operations, is that hopefully in the future, even the part of the operations is done by AI instead of like real humans. But let's see how it goes. Then yeah, containers, Skyline, these VMware SaaS services that are available, we would like to start focusing on those and what we can offer from those to the customers. And that's it, I think. Any questions?
Okay. So a couple of after comments. So the main kind of drivers for the automation and consistency, of course, are the ones that were mentioned before, but also kind of key consistency value is also on quality, and using automation to drive consistency brings a lot of kind of indirect benefits when we remove the human error possibility, which is kind of exponentially growing when the volumes grow. So driving everything through automation really boosts up the quality, even though that it's not just the speed that you get with automation. In the end, consistency is value to quality. Okay, but if there's no questions, then thank you
very much.
Thank you for participating and after the party staying awake. So thank you.